Hello, and welcome to Building High Performance Cultures, a weekly series where we talk with executives from top organizations about how they've built high performance cultures and how they're leveraging their culture as competitive advantage. I'm Marty Parker, the President and CEO of Waterstone Human Capital, and my guest today is the President of CARFAX Canada, Mark Rousseau. Mark, welcome to Building High Performance Cultures.
Thanks, Marty. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, and we're happy to have that Fox friend of yours just over your left shoulder.
Yeah, if he's too loud, just let me know, Marty. I'll be quiet.
You bet. This is the first time we've had a Fox on the program, so we're pretty excited. So a little bit about Mark. As president of CARFAX Canada, Mark leads the charge to unlock the full potential as a source of trusted information that empowers transparent decision makers for consumers, automotive dealers, auctions, original equipment manufacturers, and other related businesses. A proven leader in the area of product development, innovation, analytics, and team building, Mark is focused on acquiring data and building products that leverage the power of knowing a vehicle's history and increasing the awareness of how this information helps Canadians buy and sell with confidence. Now, Mark comes to CARFAX Canada with a wealth of diverse leadership experience. Most recently, he was the managing director of LexisNexis Canada, Inc. And of course, CARFAX was named as one of Canada's most admired corporate cultures of 2020 and was a winner in the mid-market category. Now, Mark, for people who may not be at all familiar with CARFAX Canada, tell us a little bit about the company and the culture.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the intro too. We try to keep things simple in both our culture and our business here, and we're basically an infotech company, a mid-sized infotech company focused on Canada. And as you mentioned in the intro, we just help Canadians make better decisions about their vehicles. I mean, let's say I have a house, vehicle is a big expense item, and we help people make smarter choices. The information we have, it runs the gambit from historical information like accidents, lien information, registration information, even service records for the vehicle. And then we also do a lot of work around putting a value on that vehicle. How much should you pay for that vehicle? Our culture is simple as well, harder to maintain, but simple to define. We basically set clear deliverables for everyone. We empower them to work towards achieving those. We monitor and measure everything, and we celebrate the success when they achieve them. Our leadership team is really driven by a service leadership approach. We work through others, we help lead others, and the guts are really based on empowered teams working tightly together on setting their own goals.
Thank you, Mark. Now, Mark, as president, how hands-on are you when it comes to both sustaining and communicating the culture at CARFAX?
Yeah, culture is an easy word to say, hard to define, and you might get different definitions depending on what you ask. So I was thinking about this. I think of it as when I first started 4 years ago, I think of it as a flame. Like when I came on board, the company had been in existence for already 15 years. And so like I saw this flame, and the flame represented the culture. And my job is basically to keep that flame bright in terms of, keeping it shining. And so you can kind of a different title for me would be, caretaker of the flame. And that's the way I think about it. So it's not single dimensional. I mean, it cuts across everything. So when you try to think of how do you sustain it, it's everything. And so from the way we send out communications to the way we conduct team meetings, planning town halls, how we make decisions, how we do annual planning, and a host of other things, we have to incorporate our culture. And the culture is kind of defined mainly from our values, and we have 5 key values, right? So customer first, or customer advocate, being transparent, being direct, and being objective, basing decisions on facts, doing what's right, and then solving things together. And so I'm constantly, it's probably 60% of my time kind of, being the flame keeper of making sure that those things exist in the fabric of our organization.
Keeper of the flame. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, CARFAX has got quite a culture of performance. So what does it really look like in practice, and how do you define high performance at CARFAX?
Yeah, great question. I've worked sadly for like 30 some years, and I think in my career I've learned what not to do versus what to do. And CARFAX Canada, because of the power of the organization, when I came on board, it's the first place where I can really focus on, how do you improve. Um, the and the number one thing I learned is keeping it simple. So the culture of performance is based on very simple things. And the closest thing I could call it is, what's the most important things you need to do? So I'm not sure how many people create lists out there, but, I create lists, in terms of at home, what's the most important things to do, have it more time to do household chores these days. And it's about that. So we create every year the most important things that we need to do. We do it at the company level, we do it at the department level, and we do it at the team level and the individual level. And then we track and measure that list every month, all the way down. And it allows us to maintain our focus on what's most important. And it allows us to empower people because they create the list for themselves. And, it's just about measuring it and achieving it. And that's the key driver of our culture of performance.
Now, you mentioned empowerment, and I know you have a culture of empowerment at CARFAX, where really everyone is viewed as a leader, regardless of their title. But why is that kind of culture of empowerment important?
You know, there's really a business reason I would suggest. It's to make better, faster decisions that are more in tune with what customers need. So we make faster, better decisions, more aligned to customers. Customers do better, we do better. And so achieving our financial goals or growing faster is a result of just making better, faster decisions. And how do you make better, faster decisions? Well, you push decision making down as close to the customer as possible. And, I call that empowerment. And, the side benefit outside of the financial gain is people are happier because they know that they have a stake in the outcome of where we're going, and they see it because they help design it.
So how do you, I know this is almost an unfair question, but how do you institutionalize that? In other words, what are the tools and processes that you have in place to support that leadership philosophy and support the aspirations of your team members?
Yeah, one thing I've learned, especially as I believe we've become better each year and produce more and grow faster. Any minor variation to that leadership philosophy or culture has much more of a ripple effect. And so the advantage is if something's out of whack, we notice it a lot quicker. But the hard part is any small change creates focus for us. The number one most important way, a kind of process or tool, not sure what you call it, to support our culture is having everyone speak directly in a constructive manner to the rest of their team or other individuals to resolve differences at the point of source. And it's actually taken us, we're still working on that, taken us 4.5 years to get people to work together in the moment to address differences and to work out differences. And so that's the number one process, maybe call it process. But then there's tons of others. We at all our one-on-one meetings down the line, we ask everyone to start with a check-in, versus getting to business right away. We do retros on all major projects. We've trained everyone on situational leadership, so adapting your leadership style based on the situation. We've put everyone through radical candor training because many people are afraid at times or fearful of speaking up. We've moved the game planning development down to team levels versus manager levels. Everyone gets personal objectives every quarter, and they get measured on their personal objectives every quarter, and their bonus is paid on that as well. So a whole bunch of
Super,
other processes on
super
top of
cool.
that.
I mean, resolving issues at the source requires people's ability to feel free to make mistakes. And I know in our own leadership development business and the program we have called High Performance Teams and Cultures, we spend a lot of time on helping clients create an environment of psychological safety, which by the nature of what I'm hearing that you're doing is exactly that, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to be empowered, they got to feel like they can take a risk, make a mistake, possibly even solve the problem. Who knows? And so kudos to you for kind of that. That's a great example of how to operationalize the ability to make a mistake.
Yeah, it's probably like it's easy to say and think about, right? It's like, but very difficult to achieve, and it's probably it's taken the 4.5 years to get closer and closer to having almost everyone on that bandwagon.
So I'm going to put you in the advisor role here for a second. So based on that, what advice would you give another leader who's looking to kind of increase that sense of empowerment amongst their own team members?
Yeah, I think I'd start with saying the leader has to have the right mindset. So the leader has to value feedback. This is not some procedure that you apply and follow a compliance, criteria. This is a belief that feedback is critically important to growing the business. And so I'd start with that. So the mindset of the leader. And then the second thing is the leader has to know how to provide feedback properly to create empowerment. And so it's hard. It's a skill, right? So it's hard to do sometimes. You use the wrong words. Your body language starts to show through. So do it well, and then train your people on it. The next step is train your people on it. We spent 2.5 years training people. When I came on board, we had a very strong organization, but it was entrepreneurially run. So it was kind of like top-down decision making. And so people were used to being told what to do, and they were happy with that. And so reversing that took 3.5 years, 2.5 years to 3.5 years. So you have to train people. So books like Radical Candor, Situational Leadership, and a few other great tools. Some of the stuff you offer, Marty, is a great way to move people along the channel. And it takes time, depending on the culture you're coming from.
But it starts at the top. Now, CARFAX was acquired in 2015 and was rebranded in 2018. And that's a lot of big change in a relatively short period of time. Were you able to use, or maybe the question should be, how were you able to use culture to help your team during that time period?
Yeah, changing the brand for an entity that was acquired with most of the team still intact, and then trying to keep what's best, but still change, improve for the future and scale the business is a bit of a balancing act. And so the first thing we did, Marty, was we did not make any drastic changes like brand until we built trust with the new ownership structure. I was hired by the new ownership structure. I came in, and it was 3 years before we started to entertain the idea of changing brand, because we had to build trust. So the team first felt, whoa, everything's kind of the same. Everything's getting better. This is not some big, scary story. This is, I'm happy. And so after 3 years, we felt we had earned the trust and we had, brought the team closer together. Then we said, well, okay, let's use some of our values to determine what we should do about brand. And so the first thing we did is what will help our customers best and what will help the business best. And, the CARFAX brand already had a high degree of awareness in Canada because of the advertising overspill cross-border, and much higher than CarProof had. So from a business point of view, it made more sense. And so we spent 3 months researching and then explaining to people the benefits. And then we spent 12 months putting a logistical plan together. So we had 35 teams. Almost everyone in the company was involved. And we had over 2,000 project planning activities. And, it was successful, but the only real challenge was dealing with all the logistics of changing a brand name. But we were very transparent about why, and everyone bought into it. So everyone, by the time we launched it, everyone totally understood why we were doing it.
A big part of driving change is having trust. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. And so it sounds to me like a real thoughtful approach. And I know that one of the things that came out of that period of great change um, was CARFAX game plan approach. So I'd love it if you were to tell us a little bit about the game plan and how it came to be.
Yeah. Thanks. I thought I learned a lot in my career, and I keep getting surprised almost every week now these days. But I thought I was pretty good at establishing priorities and creating strategies and then delivering upon them. But this concept of game plan took it to a completely higher level for me. And so CARFAX US, which is our sister company in the US, they've been doing game planning for 20 years. And so we modeled it after what they learned. I would go down to see them, to learn from them. And I was asking, like, they have had 20 years of consecutive revenue growth every year for 20 years. And I was asking, like, I was asking everyone, what made that happen? Like, and everyone said focus. And focus meant game plan to them. And so I started investigating, what's this game plan thing? It's like one sheet of paper. Yeah, like, little did I know what goes into creating that one sheet of paper, but we model it after the US. So, I'll give you an example. Today, we just finished our game plan for 21. We have 4 core strategies. We have 12 priorities, 39 deliverables for the business overall, and we measure progress every month. And if we achieve those things, we will have an exceptionally successful year. But of course, there's a whole bunch of planning that's gone into creating that, but it's one page. The other critical thing is one page. And the other lesson we learned is keep the wording so your grandma will understand it. And, I could show it to you, but I'm not sure in this forum whether we can share a screen or not, but it's kind of interesting to actually see it because it's definitely one page. It's easy to understand. And we update it every month and we release it to the whole company. And so everyone knows we have a game plan portal where everyone goes to find out how we're doing. So
in the game plan, which is like a one-page kind of strategic plan or business plan, which keeps great focus, you really encourage radical collaboration, which is a great phrase in itself. But what does that look like at CARFAX?
First of all, as I mentioned, it's based on the premise that the closer we get decision making to the customer, the faster, the smarter decisions we'll make to not only grow our customers' business, but our business. And then the result also is highly engaged people. So I'll give an example. We build stuff. We build stuff, and there's about 6 different departments involved in building the stuff we create. From marketing to development to tech ops to product sales. And how do you, as we grew as a business, how do you keep all those teams coordinated? So a year ago, we created a concept called squads. And so every squad is now assigned either a product or a customer group. And the squad's made up of about a dozen people, including the developers who are on the team. And each squad creates, based on their customer group or their product, creates a charter for the year based on their game plan, and then creates their product roadmap as a team. And then they measure their performance every month. And so what ends up happening too, first of all, the team is just proud of the fact that they're accomplishing what they said they were going to do. But also there's a bit of inter-team rivalry because one team looks at their outputs versus the other team, and there's a bit of internal team competition, which is great, friendly. And then as well, those teams get involved in everything. So from the marketing go-to-market plan, there's discussed in those squad meetings, to getting customer feedback, to some of those, like a developer going to meet a customer to see how the product's working. That squad is a self-contained entity that understands all aspects, the 360 view of what's involved in building. And so, I mean, the radical collaboration, like that would only happen if people are comfortable in speaking out, sharing information. So the other big thing we did is we created this new role called the Agile Program Manager. And that person is an Agile coach, because we follow Agile development technology, but they also make sure that everyone speaks up. And so they're like kind of the coach for the team as well. And if there's an issue with the collaboration around the team, they make sure it's not under the table. And so they act not just as an agile coach, agile manager, but as kind of like a people coach, although they don't have that in their job description. But so the squad concept has really allowed us to kind of enjoy the benefits of folks not being afraid of speaking out, and then also demonstrating that, hey, here's your area of focus, go to it.
Thanks, Mark. CARFAX is a focus-aligned place. There's no question about it. But every so often something comes along, like never, who would have thought, like the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so how's CARFAX managed through something that maybe could very easily take your focus off? And how have you managed through the changes brought on by COVID-19?
Yeah, no, it's changed over the last, since it started in March of last year. We got hit hard in the first, 3 months, where a lot of our customers' shops were closed, so dealers were closed up. And so, we, to kind of be consistent with our culture, we're all in it together, we collaborate together. We decided the best thing to do to manage the business was we put everyone on a 4-day work week. And so that was the first big shift for us, to reduce labor costs. We put everyone on a 4-day week. The cut in pay was the more senior you were, the more you took. And so someone, the normal team member, would have only seen a decrease of 10% of their salary versus 20% of their time being reduced. And so we tried to put the weight on more of the leadership team. We had to do that for 3 months, and then things brightened up, and then we went back to normal. But everyone's working from home. We built a brand new multi-million-dollar office in London, and we actually had to move out of our old office during COVID, while everyone was working at home. That was fun, but we haven't been back into the new office yet. So everyone's been working at home, and that's been definitely stressful. And so on top of focusing on the game plan, so I find a lot of stuff getting in the way of people's attention, but the focus on the game plan has really helped everyone get through this. And, even though we're doing Zoom meetings and it's not the same as being in person. And so, but mental health has been another huge issue for us. So, a lot of our folks have kids at home, and, they've been learning at home up until recently. And so we do a whole bunch of fun exercises. We have a trivia contest. We send gifts to people's home. Actually, me personally, the number one exciting part of my week is going and getting a package at the door. And so, that kind of breaks it out. It's the most exciting thing for me. So we sent folks gifts, branded materials. We've also, we purchased enterprise-wide license for the Calm app, which is a great app to help you relax, whether you're sleeping, doing meditation or whatnot. So mental health, we haven't cracked that fully yet, but we're trying to figure out ways to offset, the stress on mental health as well.
Oh, fantastic. Now let's look at 3-5 years, Mark. What do you see as critical to aligning your people to your culture and sustaining your own high performance culture?
Yeah, I think like with the leadership team right now, working with the leadership team, this is evolving, but obviously it's been building. It's been more stress, the longer we're into this pandemic. But one thing we've all talked about is the need to constantly nurture the strong leadership element. So for instance, the way I show up, I might have a pretty crappy day because, something happened outside of work, and then I'm coming down to my office in the house, and I can't carry that with me as a leader. I mean, the last thing our team needs is to see the stress from its leadership team. So the whole team's been very, very adamant about, showing up in a positive, constructive way, especially now, and in the tone in which we use in communications and team meetings as well. So that's been a big part of it. The other thing is compassion. So our people team found this great new quick course on eliciting more compassion and caring. And so, for instance, a lot of our, we got a bunch of high performers at this point in time. We're really trying to get every manager, even in sales, to start their meeting off with a caring mode. It's like, how you doing? What's happening with your family? Versus, how's your quota doing? Yeah, and if you're going to have challenges, manage it offline. There's enough stress just by having. I have like 38 Zoom meetings this week, and it's stressful. So the last thing I want to see is stress at the meetings, and it's the same with every team member.
Mark, what trends do you foresee coming in terms of building high performance cultures?
I think things are getting more chaotic and maybe desperate. I mean, there's a lot of tension in society going on at the same time, and I don't know. There's a sense that things are more mixed up than before, and that's for our customers as well as our team. And so one of the things I would suggest is focus becomes even more important. Do fewer things, just do a great job of each of them. And so don't do as much stuff, just do fewer, but do an amazing job on them. So even more focus than ever before. I think, work culture, especially working from home, you got to build independent teams. Like, the day of working in the office is done. It's going to be a hybrid, it's going to be a mixture, and you better have independent teams that know what they're doing, feel empowered to do so, and work well together. And so I can see that only getting stronger and stronger, the need to build independent, strong teams that are connected through some kind of common strategy, which, we do it through our game plan. I think also the last thing I'd say is over the next few years is a great opportunity to really understand your customer needs better, because it's going to be much more important to help them over the next 2 to 5 years as they're trying to recover. And so if you can find that one thing that really helps them, it's going to have a huge payback. We just launched a brand new product called Car Care. And so Car Care is meant to reach the 20 million Canadians that own a car. It's everything you need to know about servicing your vehicle. It's an app. But we created it to help Canadians, understand how to make decisions about their car around servicing. But we're also exposing that product to our dealers, because our dealer market has been hit hard with new and used car sales, but the servicing of vehicles has kind of maintained itself. And so this will help them find more customers to service their vehicle at their shop. And we just launched a beta version of it last week, and the reaction from customers was 5 times more than we thought, because, wow, you can help me. I can make more money from service while my car sales are declining. So they were so appreciated. So focusing on customer needs at this point in time and really nailing that could get you huge benefits. That's the last thing I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. My last question is, if you were giving one piece of advice to a young person, a new leader, someone who's kind of starting their own high performance culture journey, what would that one piece of advice be, Mark?
Yeah. If you asked me this 20 years ago, it was easy, right? Just do as you're told. But man, have things changed? So to kind of achieve peak performance or high performance, I'd say 2 things. Number one is only focus on what's most important. So it takes forever to figure that out, but once you figure it out, it's easy. But only focus on what's most important, and then get everyone to buy into it. And then the second thing is only lead through others. Don't do it yourself. Lead through others. And so if you're going to lead through others, then you have to empower people. You have to. And then the other thing that happens is you switch to a service leadership mode of operating. You're there to help others achieve. And the lesson for me is I know I can achieve X amount, but if I lead through my team, I can achieve 10X amount. And that's the only way we're going to get growth these days. It's tougher than it's ever been. So those are the two things I suggest.
Great words of wisdom. And as I sit back and listen to the discussion today, so much on focus and empowerment and solving, your customer issues, whether your customers in your case are externally or internally, as it may be, and creating an environment of safety and having that compassion and empathy for people as they're going through such challenging times. And it's clear to me that, you get it. You understand that our role is to serve, to support, and as you finished by saying, lead through others. I think that's great words of wisdom. So Mark Rousseau, thanks for being with us today, and thanks for bringing along the Fox as well to the meeting.
Marty, thanks for everything you do too. I know that I've known you, I've known what your company's been doing for a long time, and you've really helped shape the industry. And I'd say, many companies need you more now than ever. And I really appreciate it, our discussions and how you've helped us. So thanks.
That is very kind of you to say. So I really appreciate it. Thank you again to our guest today, Mark Rousseau, President of CARFAX Canada. And join us next week for another episode of Building High Performance Cultures. And in the meantime, if you'd like to learn more about this topic, please visit waterstonehc.com.